Hey guys, welcome back to more Reddit HOA Karen stories. I am the law around here. Those were the exact words our HOA president screamed right before her entire world came crashing down. We were just trying to trim our hedges, but the HOA president decided to call the cops on us and turn a Saturday afternoon into a full-blown police standoff. If you think your HOA is bad, just wait until you hear about this one. And the first one is titled, "My HOA tried to fine me $750 for a satellite dish." Posted on r/FHOA by user CurrentLab1184. So honestly, I've been lurking here for months reading all the horror stories and never thought I would actually have my own, but here we go. So I got a letter in January saying I own $750 for so-called unauthorized exterior modification. To be clear, it was a DirecTV dish. Like a normal satellite dish on my back patio. Been there since I moved in 2 years ago, and well, nobody said anything until now. My first instinct was to just pay it because fighting your HOA sounds exhausting. But $750 for a satellite dish? So I started digging, and it turns out there is an FCC rule called OTARD 47 CFR 1.4000 that literally makes it illegal for HOAs to ban satellite dishes under 1 meter. Like, it doesn't even matter what your CC&Rs say, federal law overrides it. I had no idea this existed, but here's the thing that actually won it. I did not just cite the federal law, I pulled my CC&Rs and found that they require 30 days written notice via certified mail before any fine. They sent me a regular letter dated 12 days before the fine hit my account, so even if the dish was a legit violation, it wasn't. The fine was procedurally defective because they did not follow their own rules. I then sent a one-page letter citing both things and got a call 4 days later saying that the fine was removed as a courtesy. Yeah, sure, courtesy. The biggest thing I learned though, it's almost never about whether you actually violated something, it is about whether your HOA followed their own process. Most of them don't. They skip notice requirements, they don't offer hearings, they charge amounts that are not in the fine schedule, and every one of those is a procedural defect that you can use. Check your CC&Rs, people. Actually, also read the enforcement section. I know it's boring as hell, but that's where the ammo is. And guys, honestly, that line, "out of courtesy," is just outrageous. Gotta give some props to the HOA here. Maybe some of the board members are comedians or something. But then again, if I would have been in that situation, I would have responded something along the lines of, "For the record, this is removed as it is invalid and a violation of federal statute, not out of courtesy. And as such, the next time escalation will be warranted." But either way, good on OP, he did the right thing. Now, a comment from Reddit. I used to install DirecTV years ago. I carried copies of the OTARD law in my pickup, so whenever an HOA busybody approached me to tell me, "You cannot put that there," I told them that federal law says I can, and then I gave the paper to the homeowner to use if their HOA tried to find them. The HOA can specify that the dish be installed in a location not visible from the street if possible. However, NEC, electrical code specifics that the dish must be grounded to the building's central grounding point, which is at the utility meter on the side of the house next to the garage in nearly all new builds. This, in return, basically means the dish can only be installed on the roof of the front of the corner of the house and the HOA cannot do anything about it. Comment number 2, my brother did the same thing. The HOA tried to get him for parking on the street overnight, and he then drove around about every other night taking pictures all over the neighborhood of others parking on the street. Apparently you have to enforce equally, not just because you're pissed off that you had the law on your side about your satellite dish. And the next one is a brilliant HOA story that is titled, "HOA Karen claims to be the law, calls police on new neighbors." And by the way, Ripe Stars, if you enjoy the malicious compliance HOA stories, then please don't forget to like the video and post some star emojis in the comments and let me know whether you ever had any run-ins with any awful HOAs in your own life. I would love to hear your story. Thank you so much for the support. So my wife and I bought our first house about 4 months ago. It's in a small neighborhood with an HOA, which we knew going in, but the realtor assured us it was very laid back and mostly just handles the pool and common areas. That should have been our first red flag. But we were first-time homebuyers and didn't know any better. We closed on a Friday and planned to move in that weekend. The house needed some work, but it was nothing major, mostly just cosmetic stuff. The previous owners had let some things go, so we were excited to make it ours. Saturday morning, the moving truck showed up at 8 a.m. We were unloading boxes when a woman marched up our driveway. She was maybe mid-50s, blonde hair in a tight bun, wearing a polo shirt with the neighborhood logo embroidered on it. That's always a bad sign, by the way, guys.
"Excuse me,"
she said, not even introducing herself.
"are you aware that moving trucks require prior approval from the HOA?"
I stopped mid-carry with a box of kitchen supplies. "I'm sorry, what?"
"Moving trucks," she repeated slowly like I was stupid. "You need to submit a request form at least 72 hours in advance for any large vehicles in the neighborhood."
We just bought the house," my wife said, coming up behind me with another box. "We are moving in."
"That does not exempt you from HOA rules. The moving truck is blocking the view of the street and it's creating an eyesore for the neighbors."
I looked at the truck. It was parked in our driveway. Our driveway, not on the street, not blocking anyone's mailbox, just sitting in the driveway of the house that we owned. "Look," I said, trying to be diplomatic, "we didn't know about any form, but we are almost done. The truck will be gone by this afternoon." She pulled out her phone and took several pictures of the truck, our house, and us holding boxes.
"I'm documenting this violation. You will be receiving a fine in the mail. I'm Elena, by the way, HOA president. I suggest you familiarize yourself with our bylaws before you cause any more disruptions." Then she turned and walked away. Before we could say anything else, my wife and I just stared at each other. "What the hell was that?" she said. "I have no idea, but I really hope that's not how this whole HOA thing is gonna go." Well, spoiler alert, it absolutely was. The fine arrived 3 days later, $150 for so-called unauthorized commercial vehicle on property without prior approval. I called the HOA management company listed on the letter, and the guy I spoke with sounded tired. "Yeah, Mrs. Elena is very thorough about enforcement," he said carefully, "but honestly, a moving truck on your own property on move-in day is not typically something we fine for. I can probably get this waived if you want to file an appeal or something." "I want to file an appeal," I said. "I will send you the form. Fair warning though, she sits on the appeals committee, so I'm screwed." I didn't say that. But yeah, she takes her role very seriously. And well, the appeal was denied 2 weeks later. The denial letter was even longer than the original fine notice and included references to 3 different sections of the HOA bylaws, plus a reminder that ignorance of the rules is not an excuse for non-compliance.
We paid the fine. I mean, we were new to the neighborhood and didn't want to start off on the wrong foot with everyone. Maybe if we just followed the rules going forward, it would be fine. Well, it was not fine. So I'm a hobbyist woodworker. I have a small workshop set up in our garage with a table saw, a miter saw, and some basic hand tools. It's nothing crazy really, just enough to build shelves and do small projects. The previous owners had done the same thing. They were mounting holes in the garage walls where their equipment had been. 2 weeks after we moved in, I was out in the garage on a Sunday morning working on a bookshelf. It was about 10:30 a.m. I had the garage door open because it was a nice day and I wanted the ventilation. But well, Elena appeared at the end of my driveway.
"Excuse me,"
she called out over the sound of the saw. I turned off the saw and pulled out my earplugs. "Yes?"
"Power tools are prohibited on Sundays before 11 a.m. It's in Section 7 of the Noise Ordinance bylaws."
"It is 10:30, I said. "I'll be done before 11.
"The rule is before 11. That means you cannot operate power tools until 11 a.m. You are currently in violation of the law."
I felt my jaw clench. I've got 30 minutes left to cut these boards. I'm in my own garage. I'm not bothering anyone, and I'm certainly not breaking any laws.
"You're bothering me. I can hear it from my house."
She pointed 3 houses down the street. "Well then, close your windows or something." Her face went hard.
"I don't appreciate your attitude. This is your second violation in as many weeks. I'll be documenting this and you'll be receiving another fine."
And yeah guys, honestly, just to quickly interject here, OP really moved in just recently, and if you would be in OP's shoes and had an HOA president that constantly harassed you even after just moving in, what would you have done if you were in OP's shoes? It's clear that this is heading into the wrong direction. It's really better to deal with things like this earlier than later. Anyway, she took more pictures with her phone and then left. The fine was $200 this time for so-called excessive noise violation during restricted hours. The letter noted that this was our second offense and that continued violations may result in escalating consequences, including liens against the property. Honestly, I was furious. My wife was furious too. We went back through the HOA bylaws with a fine-tooth comb, and the noise ordinance said that power tools were prohibited before 10 a.m. on weekends and holidays, not 11 a.m. 10. I'd been operating my saw at 10:30 a.m. I was completely in compliance. I called the management company again. Same tired-sounding guy. She wrote 11 a.m.? He sighed. Yeah, that's wrong. It's 10 a.m. I can definitely get this one reversed though. What is her problem? I asked. She's acting like we're criminals because we moved in. Look, I probably shouldn't say this, but you're not the first people to have issues with her. She has been president for about 3 years and she is, well, let's just say she has a very strict interpretation of the rules. Sometimes even stricter than what's actually written. Can the board remove her? They can, but she's very well connected in the neighborhood. A lot of the older residents like her because she keeps property values up by being very strict about maintenance and appearances. It would take a pretty significant incident for something to change. Every few days, another notice would appear on our door. Sometimes they were formal typed letters, sometimes they were handwritten notes on HOA letterhead. Each one documented some minor infraction and threatened fines or further action. My wife started having anxiety about it. She would come home from work and the first thing she would do was check the front door to see if there was a new notice. We started documenting everything too. We took photos of our trash cans the minute we put them out and the minute we brought them in. We measured our grass height weekly. We kept a log of every time we saw Elena on our property, because that was another thing. She just started showing up. One evening we came home from dinner and she was standing in our backyard with her phone out taking pictures of our fence. What are you doing? I called out from the driveway. She turned around completely unfazed by being caught trespassing.
Your fence has peeling paint. Section 12, subsection 4 requires all fences to be maintained in good condition.
That's our backyard. How did you even get back there?
I walked around the side. The gate was unlocked.
So you just let yourself into our yard?
As HOA president, I have the authority to conduct inspections to ensure compliance with neighborhood standards.
No you don't, my wife said, pulling out her phone. You're trespassing. Get out of our yard right now, or I'm calling the police. Elena's face went red.
I'm trying to help you avoid another fine. The fence needs to be repainted within 30 days or you will be assessed for non-compliance.
Get out now. She left, but not before taking a few more pictures. We got a fine for the fence the next day, and then we also installed security cameras that weekend. The cameras were honestly the best decision we ever made. Over the next 2 weeks, we caught Elena on our property 6 different times. She would legit walk around the side of the house, peer into our garage, take pictures of various things, and once she even tried our back gate, but we had started locking it. We sent the footage to the HOA management company, and the guy was truly apologetic, but they said they couldn't really do anything about her conducting neighborhood assessments unless we wanted to pursue legal action for trespassing. She's harassing us, I said. This is beyond strict HOA enforcement. She's targeting us specifically. I believe you, but my hands are tied. The board would need to vote to remove her, and like I said, she has support from a lot of the residents. And by the way guys, is it just me, or does this management company actually sound empathetic for once? I think in these Reddit stories, the HOA management companies are equal scumbags for the most part, but in this case, maybe it's a little bit different. Anyway, we consulted with a lawyer and he said we could pursue a restraining order, but it would be expensive and time-consuming, and HOA disputes were usually notoriously difficult to win. Your best bet is to document everything and either wait it out or consider moving, he said. We had been in the house 2 months, we were not moving, things escalated about a week later. And by the way guys, that is an awful lawyer who suggests you to move just because an HOA is bullying you. I was trimming the bushes in our front yard. It was a Saturday afternoon, nice weather, and the bushes had gotten a bit overgrown. I was not really doing anything dramatic, just cleaning them up and shaping them a bit. Elena came speed-walking across her lawn towards our house.
Stop,
she yelled.
Stop right now.
I lowered my hedge trimmers. What?
Landscaping modifications require written approval from the Architectural Review Committee. You cannot alter plantings without submitting a request form.
I'm trimming bushes. I'm not altering anything.
Any change to the exterior appearance of the property requires approval. That includes trimming, pruning, or removing vegetation.
I was done. I was completely done. These are my bushes on my property. I'm trimming them because they need to be trimmed. I don't need your permission or anyone else's permission to maintain my own landscaping.
Yeah, you do. It is in Section 4 of the Architectural Guidelines.
I don't care what section it's in. You need to leave me alone. You need to stop coming onto my property and you need to stop harassing us and you need to find something better to do with your time than inventing reasons to fine us. Her face went purple.
How dare you speak to me that way? I'm the HOA president, and if you think you can just move into this neighborhood and do whatever you want, you're in for a rude awakening.
We are not doing whatever we want. We are living in our house and maintaining it. You're the one who is out of control. My wife came outside. Is there a problem here?
Your husband is being hostile and refusing to comply with HOA regulations,
Elena said. You are on our property, harassing us again, my wife replied. We've asked you multiple times to stop, and you just keep coming back.
I have every right to ensure compliance with…
You don't have any right to be on our property, I said. Just leave. Elena pulled out her phone and started taking pictures and video.
I'm documenting this hostile behavior. You're both being aggressive and threatening.
We're not threatening anyone, my wife said. We're telling you to leave our property, which is completely within our rights.
I am the authority in this neighborhood. What I say goes, and I say you need to stop that landscaping work immediately.
Or what? I said. You will fine us again? Just go ahead. We are done being intimidated by you. Elena's hands were shaking.
You're gonna regret this, both of you. I'm gonna make sure you regret ever moving here.
She turned and stormed off, and my wife and I looked at each other. That sounded like a threat, she said. It absolutely was, and the camera caught all of it though. We went back inside and I pulled up the security camera footage. The camera had captured the whole interaction clearly, including Elena's threat at the end. We need to keep that, my wife said, just in case. In case of what? In case she does something crazy. Well, about 40 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled up in front of our house. 2 officers got out and walked up to me. I was still in the yard putting away my tools. Evening, one of them said, we got a call about a disturbance and threats being made. A disturbance? I said. My wife came outside. Everything is fine, officers. Our neighbor, the HOA busybody president, didn't like that we were trimming bushes, and we told her to leave us alone. That's it, really. Who made the call? My wife asked. The officer checked his notes. The caller reported threats and aggressive behavior, said that she felt physically threatened and unsafe. That's a complete lie, I said. We were just trimming bushes. She came over and started yelling at us about HOA rules. We told her it was ridiculous and asked her to leave our property. There were no threats from us whatsoever. The second officer was looking around the yard. So what exactly happened here? Well, I was trimming those bushes. I pointed to the front hedge and she came over and said I needed HOA approval to trim our own bushes. I told her that was ridiculous and she got upset and said we were gonna regret moving here. Then she left and I guess she called you. She said you were gonna regret it? The first officer asked. No, she said it to us. We have it on video if you wanna see it. Right then, we heard her voice from across the yard.
Officers! Officers, over here!
Elena was power walking across our lawn towards us, waving her arms. She was slightly out of breath when she reached us. Ma'am, the first officer said as she approached, did you make this call?
Yeah, I did. These people threatened me. They were hostile and aggressive and I felt unsafe. I want them arrested.
We did not threaten anyone, my wife said firmly. You came onto our property and harassed us like you've been doing for 2 months straight. Elena pointed at me and shaking.
He told me I was gonna regret coming over here. That's a direct threat.
That is absolutely not what I said, I replied. You told us that we were gonna regret moving here. We even have you on video saying it.
You were recording me? That's illegal.
It's security camera footage from our own property, my wife said, which you've been trespassing on repeatedly. The first officer held up his hand. Okay, everyone, calm down. Let's just figure out what actually happened here.
What happened?
Elena said, her voice getting louder and higher pitched.
Is that these people have been violating HOA rules since day one, and when I try to enforce them, as is my duty as president, they get aggressive and hostile. They are a danger to this neighborhood.
A danger? My wife said. You've been leaving threatening notices on our door almost daily and walking onto our property without any permission multiple times, and now you're making false police reports because we asked you to leave us alone.
False?
Elena's face went red, that purple color creeping in again.
I'm the HOA president. I am the law around here. I have the authority to enforce the laws here. They are the ones breaking the law.
The second officer spoke up, his tone measured. Ma'am, HOA bylaws are not criminal law. This sounds like a civil dispute.
It's not a civil dispute when I'm being threatened in my own neighborhood, when I cannot even do my job without being verbally attacked.
Nobody threatened you, I said.
You did, and I have every right to protect myself and this community from people like you who think the rules don't apply to them.
The first officer looked at her carefully. Ma'am, filing a false police report is actually a crime. If you called us here claiming threats were made when they weren't…
They were made. I felt threatened. Isn't that what matters? I felt unsafe.
Feeling uncomfortable during a disagreement is not the same as being threatened, the first officer said. Did anyone here threaten you with physical harm or use language that would make a reasonable person fear for their safety? Elena's mouth opened and closed.
They were aggressive. They told me to leave. They were hostile.
Asking someone to leave your property is not a threat, the second officer said.
So you're not gonna do anything?
Elena's voice went up another octave.
You're just gonna let them get away with this, huh? With harassing me and violating our neighborhood rules.
There's nothing to get away with, ma'am, the first officer said, and I could hear the patience wearing thin in his voice. You can handle HOA disputes through your management company or civil court, but this is not a police matter. There's been no crime committed.
This is unbelievable, she shouted. I call for your help and you take their side.
We're not taking sides, ma'am. We're just telling you this is not a criminal issue. She pulled out her phone again, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped it.
Fine, I'm documenting this. I'm filing a formal complaint against both of your officers for failing to do your jobs. Badge numbers. I need both your badge numbers right now.
The officers exchanged a glance but gave her their badge numbers. She turned to us, pointing her phone at us like it was a weapon.
And you two, you're getting the maximum fine for this. I'm putting a lien on your house. You're gonna regret the day you moved into this neighborhood. I'm gonna make your lives miserable.
Ma'am, the first officer said, his tone much firmer now, you need to calm down.
I will calm down when you arrest them for threatening me.
We're not arresting anyone. There's been no crime committed here. She stepped closer to the officer, getting right in his space.
No crime? They threaten me. They are destroying neighborhood property. They are violating community rules. You need to do something.
Ma'am, please step back, the officer said.
I will not step back. You need to do your job.
Then she did something I genuinely couldn't believe. She grabbed the officer's arm.
You need to arrest them right now. I'm not asking, I'm telling you.
The officer pulled his arm away quickly. Ma'am, don't touch me.
I'm not leaving until you do your job. I'm a taxpayer. I called you here. You work for me.
She reached for his arm again. The second officer moved quickly, positioning himself between her and his partner. Ma'am, you need to stop right now, the second officer said, his hand moving to his belt.
The simple problem is you refusing to arrest these criminals.
She was screaming now, her face completely purple with rage, spittle flying from her mouth.
They are the problem, not me.
She tried to push past the second officer to get to us, and he caught her arm firmly. Ma'am, you're interfering with our investigation. I'm gonna ask you one more time to step back and calm down.
Let go of me. I'm the HOA president. You cannot treat me like this. I got authority here.
She yanked her arm away and hit the officer's face. Okay, that's it, the first officer said, and moving quickly, turn around, you're under arrest.
What? No, I didn't do anything wrong. They are the criminals.
You just hit an officer and you've been interfering with our investigation. Turn around, please.
This is insane. I'm the victim here. I'm the one who called you.
The officer took her arm and turned her around, not roughly, but firmly. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Get your hands off me. I'm the HOA president. You cannot arrest me.
That does not give you the right to assault an officer or file false police reports, ma'am. She started screaming, actually screaming, this high-pitched wail that echoed down the street.
They are the criminals, not me. You're supposed to arrest them.
The second officer had his handcuffs out. Ma'am, if you don't stop resisting, we're going to add resisting arrest to your charges. She tried to pull away, twisting her body, but the officer held her firmly. Within seconds, the handcuffs were on. The clicking sound was the most satisfying thing I'd ever heard.
This is a mistake,
she shrieked, her voice cracking.
I called you. I'm the one who called 911. You cannot arrest me for calling 911.
Yeah, ma'am, the officer said, walking her towards the patrol car with his hand on her elbow. And you failed to file a report, interfered with our investigation, and attempted to assault an officer. Those are all crimes.
I want to speak to your supervisor. I want your badge numbers again. You are both fired. I know the mayor. I know the chief of police.
You already have our badge numbers, ma'am, the second officer said. By now, neighbors were coming outside. I saw at least 5 people standing on their porches or in their yards watching all of this. One guy across the street had his phone out recording. The first officer opened the back door of the patrol car. Watch your head.
Don't touch me. This is assault. Police brutality. I'm being violated.
He guided her into the back seat. She was still screaming, her voice muffled now by the car. The first officer came back to us while his partner radioed something in. Sorry about that. We're going to need you to come down to the station to give some statements. Absolutely, I said. Whatever you need. Has she been harassing you for a while? Since we moved in 2 months ago, my wife said. We got documentation of everything. Videos, photos, copies of all the notices she's left, just everything. Bring all of that with you, please. The more evidence of a pattern of behavior, the better for the case. Also, what is she being charged with? I asked. Filing a false police report, interfering with a police investigation, and assault on an officer, and possibly more depending on what else comes up during the investigation. The screaming continued from the patrol car. I could see her in the back seat, red-faced, mouth moving. The windows were up, so I couldn't hear the words, but I could imagine. Thank you, my wife said to the officers seriously. Thank you. Just doing our jobs, ma'am. Sorry it took this long to get here. We'll be in touch about those statements. They got in the car and drove away. The screaming face in the back window got smaller and smaller until they turned the corner. We went down to the police station the next day and gave formal statements. We brought everything: the security camera footage showing her trespassing on our property multiple times, copies of all the fines and notices she had left, the videos of our confrontations, photos of everything. We had 2 months worth of documentation. We were told the following: she's being charged with filing a false police report, interfering with an investigation, and attempted assault on an officer. Given this documentation, the prosecutors may add harassment charges as well. If she violates the restraining order or contacts you in any way, call us immediately. We heard from multiple neighbors later that week that the HOA board held an emergency meeting. Well, with the police report and multiple homeowners finally coming forward with their own stories, they voted unanimously to remove Elena as president. Over the next few weeks, the board reversed about 60% of the fines and Elena had issued to various homeowners. It turned out one couple had been assessed over $3,000 in bogus fines over 2 years. Another guy had code enforcement called on him 6 times in 1 month for violations that didn't even exist. Everyone had stories, and now that Elena was gone, people felt safe sharing them. Elena's court date was set for early October. She actually tried to represent herself after her lawyer apparently dropped her as a client. According to one of the neighbors who went to watch the proceedings, she stood in front of the judge and claimed she was just doing her job as HOA president and that we had provoked her. In the end, she was convicted on all charges. She got a year of probation, 100 hours of community service, and the judge ordered her to take anger management classes. She also got a permanent restraining order to stay away from us. In the end, Elena moved out after her arrest. We heard from someone on the HOA board that she relocated to a different county entirely. Her house sold fast. Apparently the buyers got a good deal because of her eagerness to leave. The neighborhood has been peaceful ever since. The new HOA president, who got officially elected last month, is reasonable and actually friendly. And yeah guys, to be honest, if you ask me, Elena sounds like the kind of HOA president who forgot the association part and thought she was running a private police HOA department. The wildest part is though that OP and his wife were not even doing anything unreasonable if you think about it. A moving truck on move-in day, power tools after the actual allowed time, trimming bushes, repainting a fence, that's all normal homeowner stuff. The fact that she kept walking onto their property and then called the police because they told her to leave is exactly why people hate HOAs. But then again, I mean, she really built her own downfall one fake violation at a time. And the next one is a story from r/petty revenge. It is titled "Threw Her Package in the Bin and Sent Her a Message Saying, 'We don't accept gifts from Satan. Thank you.'" So for some context, my partner's mom has hated me from the beginning. 5 years later, we got a child. I founded a business for my partner which has been doing well the last 4 years, but for some reason in her mom's eye, I'm just the worst person ever and people of my race cannot be trusted and even dogs are better than us. She is also a fanatical Catholic, so it's normal for her to set up candles and fast and pray for days so that her daughter will, quote, "one day return home." So yeah, this has been an ongoing battle for me, because I don't want to be the guy that says, "You should block your mom." But I also don't see us ever having a healthy relationship either like this, but that's an issue for a separate post. Her response is usually, "Well, that's just how my mom is, I cannot change her." After finding messages on my partner's phone where her mom is just again insulting the crap out of my race and adding the comment, "My child does not need a father," is when I decided to fight back and stand up for myself. She sent some packages with clothes and stuff trying to make a statement like, "You're useless and I'm gonna send this nice package to make you feel worse." My daughter, by the way, has everything she needs, we are well off and she's always getting new things. No one is punishing her and she just got a new trampoline the other day, so in short, she's fine and happy. She also didn't see me taking the package or she was aware of any package, she just got new shoes which she kept and then I guessed the rest and found the rest hidden. They didn't tell me about this though, and I just noticed my daughter slowly with new clothes, so I put 2 and 2 together and she confirmed my guess that she sent something and she wasn't sure how I would react, so she kept it hidden. In short, I found it, so I threw it in the bin and sent her a message saying, "We don't take gifts from Satan. Thank you." And yeah guys, to be honest, while the mother-in-law is awful, OP should also be mad at his wife because his wife clearly has no spine. If my mom ever spoke like that about my wife or husband, I would have cut her off long ago. If my mom cannot respect my significant other, then she can kick rocks in my opinion. Anyway, thanks for watching, I will see you again tomorrow.